people, and welcome back to the Biggs Prep. My name is Cynthia.
Mr. Biggs.
And today we're going to talk about 7 skills to learn before the economic collapse. So if you're ready, press the like button and let's go. I have notes. So it's a prepper's life, and we definitely practice what we preach here at the Biggs Homestead because Mr. B's dad got a deer. So it's Monday night, it's after work, and we've got to get this canned up before we can move on with our lives. We don't want to waste it. It's beautiful meat. So it's gorgeous. 7 skills to learn before the next economic collapse. Number 1 is bartering.
Bottom line is bartering is used to exchange goods and services without the use of money. Whether that's your veggies from your garden in exchange for what someone else is able to produce on their homestead, maybe an animal product or milk, meat, or even services like raking your yard, servicing your pool, mowing your lawn in exchange for changing your oil or doing work on your car. Even childcare. Often women will exchange childcare for childcare to help them cut costs. The best way to start bartering is to open a line of communication with your neighbors and your friends. People don't really know how to talk to each other anymore, so that could be hard. I love bartering because it is not trackable, it's not traceable, and it's not taxable. Bartering is discouraged for those reasons, and that's why I like it.
Next up, we're going to talk about butchering. And speaking of butchering, there was a lot of that going on yesterday. But butchering is breaking down animals and not wasting any of the good parts.
The worst thing about butchering for most people is the ick factor. You do have to touch raw meat. There is kind of a gross aspect to that for some people. If you've never broken down an animal before, my advice is to get a whole raw chicken and watch a YouTube video about how to break down that animal. Getting charts like these can be very helpful in learning what cuts are where on an animal. There are a variety of butchery books out there. Getting them used, inexpensive, and then hang with a hunter. Hunters oftentimes know how to break down an animal in the field to get it out of the woods and then back to the truck so they can break it down further.
I'm going to guess there's about 6 jars here. Maybe 7. Okay, next up we're going to talk about canning, which is what we're doing tonight. Learning how to can and preserve food is the number 3 skill to learn before the next economic collapse. Preserving your food and what you have is very important because you don't want to waste anything.
If you're looking for content from me about canning, dehydrating, meal planning, prepper pantry cooking, I have a whole nother channel called the Biggs Homestead Kitchen. I would love to invite you over there. We'd love to have you. And it's a really great place to learn some new skills. In my latest video, we actually had to crack out the gas mask because we got smoked out of the kitchen by our habanero peppers. And we have a lot of fun over on that channel. Mr. B cuts up so terribly. He always tries to mess me up. He's hilarious to watch, so come check it out. A word of caution about canning. I want to make sure that you're watching out for rebel canners. I normally have a your kitchen, your rules approach, but rebel canning, if you're new, is not advised.
Number 4 skill is learn how to start a fire. There are all kinds of different fires and different fire methods that you should probably learn before the next economic collapse.
I'm not talking about a bow drill or going back to primitive man where you rub 2 sticks together. I'm talking about basic fire safety so that you do not burn your house to the ground because you do not know how to properly make and maintain a fire. Lighting a fire with a ferro rod is completely different than lighting a fire with a traditional lighter or even a set of matches. There's going to take a very specific tinder and a method to lighting that fire. Fires in a wood stove burn completely differently than a fire in a fireplace. And if you've ever lit an outdoor bonfire, you know how careful you have to be not to catch everything else on fire.
Number 5, we're talking first aid. Basic first aid is really important for keeping yourself and your family nice and healthy before the next economic collapse.
A basic first aid and CPR class is an inexpensive way to get that knowledge that you may need in a first aid situation. You can also have a variety of books on hand about first aid to study before you have a situation. Having the right supplies on hand also will help. Basic knowledge for most scenarios will save you hundreds in time and exposure to other illnesses. Common scenarios like cuts, scrapes, bug bites, fever, even the stomach flu. If you know, most of these things can be handled at home with someone who knows how.
By doing some of these simple things, you could save hundreds of dollars for your family, not to mention wait times. As we know, most hospitals are completely overrun at this point, super short-handed, and the consumables are very short in most hospitals in the United States right now. So if you can keep you and your family away from the doctor, away from emergency or urgent care, it's really going to help your family out for sure. Number 6, foraging. And I know a lot of people that live in the suburbs or maybe live, not in the country are gonna say, wow, foraging, I don't really know about that. But even in the city, there sometimes are things that are edible around that are, good to eat, good to go. Which one? Start in your backyard as far as foraging goes. You're gonna wanna start where you live, where you are, and start identifying plants and make sure that those are edible.
One of my favorite foraging channels on YouTube is Prepping with Sarge.
One disclaimer I do want to make about these dogs. One disclaimer I do want to make about foraging is you're going to want to make sure you stay away from contaminated areas, because a lot of city areas are sprayed with a lot of chemicals and things like that can be very bad for you.
That is reality TV.
We're just going to keep going.
It's not scripted.
It's not scripted.
If you know someone who forages in your local area and knows what plants are safe, now is a great time to make friends with that person. Never eat anything unless you're 100% sure of it. Everything is edible once, but it may not be edible a second time. Go for the obvious first, things like dandelion, chickweed. Make sure you're paying attention to your seasons, because some plants are okay in the spring and poison in the fall. It's a smart idea to go for the super easy stuff first. Once you're confident, start working those edible plants into your menus.
In action. Oh, wait.
Oh, and we're back. Next up, number 7, gardening and seed harvesting. I am huge into seed harvesting right now. I'm learning everything there is about seed harvesting for plants that grow well in my area. This is going to be super important because I can save money by not having to buy seeds, and seed shortages are predicted. So if I can save seeds, I'm going to do it now.
The first thing you can do to garden is cultivate your wild edibles. If something is edible and already growing in your area, give it some more room. Next question, what zone are you in? Thing I consider is seed to harvest days. How many days do I have between when I plant and when I'm actually able to get my fruit or vegetable? I love heirloom seeds. They're easy to grow. I want to make sure my family is going to eat whatever I'm growing. How do I preserve what I'm growing? How do I prepare it in any recipes I want to try? What soil amendments do I need to make? I need to research my poop now. Gardeners love poop, and the best place to get that is to make your connections now during the winter so that in the spring you'll already have it, and that would be something great to barter.
Since you stayed until the end of the video, you get a bonus tip. Number 8 is substitutions. Learn your substitutions now before the economic collapse, because as supplies get shorter, you're going to want to know your substitutions. So how do I make cake flour? How do I substitute an egg in a recipe? If I don't have any cream of tartar on hand, how do I make that out of my pantry staples that I already have? These are some easy things that you can learn and adapt your recipes. During the Great Depression, women were masters at substitutions. Winter is a great time to stock up and learn about new skills. There's more downtime and the colder days are shorter. There's nothing like doing research now, especially in plants. For me, I love to research seeds and plants during our winter months, as enhanced motivation for that garden in the spring. I can't wait to get those seeds into the ground. My Seminole pumpkins, that was a winter find. I got my seeds, and as soon as spring hit, bam, into the soil they went. These crazy dogs. By doing research now, you're gonna boost that self-confidence too. You're gonna walk into the next season of your life prepared with plenty of knowledge. You just need to put your knowledge into practice of that new skill. Ooh, yeah, this little guy right here, open that up, put it with some rice, yum, yum. During the winter, it's really easy to get seasonal depression, so we want to make sure that we're keeping our minds really busy. By researching 7 new skills, you can boost your mood and motivation for the next season. Positive distraction. Yes, positive distraction. By researching new skills, new recipes, new seeds, new everything, you can give your brain some positive distraction. There's so much bad news in the world. Why not do something positive for yourself? The point of this video is to keep you empowered, keep you confident, and keep you informed. Never want to scare anybody, but these are some great skills that you can stock up on at no charge all winter and get yourself ready for spring. And the next economic collapse, which, you know, even the mainstream media is talking around the R word at this point. That's so crazy. I said 6 to 7 jars and literally there's 6.5. That's what 30 years of canning experience does for you. Over 30. I forgot, I'm 50.
Time to get these jars into the canner before it gets any later in the evening. It's about 6 o'clock and we'll probably take everything off around 10.
If you can get these 8 skills under your belt before the economic collapse comes, before your family loses a job, or before anything bad happens, it's probably in your best interest to do so. Thank you so much again for watching. I appreciate all of you. And remember, everybody, I would rather be a year early than a day late.
Those who follow, our chickens actually laid some eggs.
They actually laid some eggs, people. A round of applause.
They may or may not have made a PSA out there at the pen the other day saying that we would whittle through the roosters and down through the ranks of the hens if they didn't start producing, because somebody's got to eat something.